Are you ready? Yeah! I want to know, is everybody ready? Yeah! All right, here we go.
Hinna! Yeah! Bobby back from The Difference Is Doing It. Okay, and look, I got something a little different for all you kiddies out there today. A special edition of Other Basement Disc Dyers. Yeah. Okay, look, this one's going to be, like I said, a little different than our other Basement Disc Dyers. You're not going to see, like, a guest pro come in and just funk some plastic right up in front of your eyes. But, like most of you out there already know, I just got back from my very first vacation, and I don't remember how long, like way too long. I drove my truck halfway across the country out to see my very first pro disc golf tournament at Ledgestone. And let me tell you, it was awesome. I was stunned by how intimate the experience was out there. Like, I got to walk off the whole Eureka course following the world champ, like close enough to have been his caddy out there. And like, it was no different the next day following the ladies. I hooked up following a card featuring Kona and Rebecca and Vanessa and Jesse, and like all Friday morning and afternoon they gave me a really up close look at how far I'll never be able to throw it. It's something else. But like, it was a super cool experience, like way cooler than I expected. But if I'm honest with all of you, like, watching the pros serve up a healthy piece of humble pie to my ego wasn't like what I was all excited about in the days and weeks leading up to Ledgestone. It was getting a chance to meet all of the artists there, putting their creativity and hard work out into the ether. And like, my plan was to buy a disc off of every single one of them. Every one. And like to spread some TDIDI love just all over that thing. Like, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet every single one of them out there, okay? But I feel like I did a really good job chasing down that goal. And no question, I brought home myself a righteous pile of some seriously hot plastic. I mean, come on, check it out. Like, it's such a big and heavy pile of hot plastic that, like, I was nervous about keeping it on the turntable during the video. Like, it's gonna crush the plate down in there. And it almost covers my face up from being from being able to talk to you while I'm talking about it. Can you see why I was so stoked now? This is like a whole decade of birthdays stacked up into one pile of awesome. That I'm serious about being nervous about being too heavy to keep on the turntable, okay? So I'm gonna set her back down over here and stop drooling over it. And then I'm gonna take you boys and girls on a little journey through like what some of the premier doers are cranking out that I ran into at Ledgestone. So let's not waste any more time and hop right into the deep end. So I got out there like a day early on Wednesday before the tournament started to like scope out the lay of the land a little bit and hopefully get around him before all the action started. I figured that the best place to start would be to go to one of the local disc golf stores, right? And fortunately, there were two within 15 minutes of my hotel. I got pretty excited, a little jealous, but I saddled up the truck and I headed over to 309 Disc Chuckers first. Cool little spot for sure. Definitely way cooler than none we have by me back at home. But like, the best part about this store was that the owner, Donnie, and his son, who I got to meet there in the store, like, they dye discs themselves to stock up the shelves with, which, come on guys, hell yeah. You can see their information up on the screen there. If you're already in the Peoria area, I'm sure you already know about these guys. But if, like me, you're just passing through there, like for next year's Ledgestone, this spot is definitely worth a pop in. They had some dope discs on the shelves. I got out of there myself with this one here. It's a Legacy Enemy with a glue swirl on top. I love the pattern they got on this disc. But really the closer on this one for me was how flat the dome profile is on this one. Like, this one could be giving the Jimmy disc in my bag a run for its money as the go-to thumber. I'm testing it out this weekend. And then from 309 Huckers, I went up to North Perkins, Illinois to check out the other disc golf store, Plastic Addicts. This place is awesome. Like, they have something disc golf for everybody in there. You can see I scored this like super fresh trucker hat while I was in there. But like what I gravitated to right away, and partially because they put it right inside the damn front door for you. First thing you see was their whole rack of dyed discs where they were showing off like a bunch of different local artists in the area, which, come on. This is definitely another spot that any Hucker should be stopping into if they find themselves in that section of Middle America. Along with this super fresh trucker hat, I scored 2 discs while I was in there. First one I got there is this righteous like peace symbol glue swirl done by HillBillie Disc Dyes. Now, as I start shifting over from the stores into the artists here, I'll be putting their information up on the screen for you, like, and a picture of the disc because the glare can be terrible holding it up to the camera. All of them pretty much, the one thing they shared was an IG account, so like that's what you're going to see up on the screen there, and you can always get in touch with these artists directly through their IG account. But like the rest of all their information, their respective websites, and all the other social media crap is going to be listed in the description below my talking head so that you can hit these fools up, okay? This one by HillBillie Disc Dyes that I picked up, it jumped out at me for 2 reasons. One is, like, I'm really digging the design. I love the peace symbol glue swirl. But 2, like, it was the only one of his discs there that wasn't done on, like, an absolute meat hook that my old man arm could never could never throw. Because these are made for hucking, and that's what I plan on doing to all of them. The other disc I scored at Plastic Addicts, this one is high on the list of my favorites. It is this animal die on a star sidewinder, which some of you know this is one of my absolute favorite molds. And come on, animal! Like, if he isn't the true leader of the Muppets, then it's Gonzo. I mean, enough with this Kermit stuff. Now, you can already see it up there on the screen. This one was dyed by Fly Casual Disc Dyes. This disc was my introduction to Fly Casual. Andy and his wife are a disc dyeing team. They mostly do like amazing stencil work, but there's a little bit of everything in their disc dyeing catalog. Like a lot of really iconic and nostalgic stuff. Wait till you see like the Death Star Pac-Man mashup they did. I mean, that thing is super funky. But that's that for the disc golf stores and disc buying that day. I went straight from Plastic Addicts out to check out McNaughton Disc Golf Course. That was one of the ones they were going to be playing in the tournament. I got a round in over there with 2 real dudes, Chris and Paul. Played mostly like crap, but still had a pretty awesome time. But we'll fast forward on from there to the next disc and keep this train on the tracks. This next disc comes with a pretty cool story. It was the next day on Thursday, and I had just gotten to Eureka, the disc golf course, to watch the guys play. And my main man, Mike, was meeting me there. He came down to my truck, and we weren't 2 steps from it when we heard, "Yo, TDIDI!" Who was it other than, like, 5-star TDIDI Army General, my main man, Keegan Reed, who had just parked his car right next to my truck. We did all, like, our TDIDI high fives and stuff, and then got to talking for a little bit. And then, like, eventually, I told him what my real plan while I was out there. And then he gave me, like, that look, like, "Yo, I got some of my discs in the back of the car!" Like, so we went and checked them out, and then that is where this Thanos zone was added to the roster. And then, like, it was awesome. Like, the 3 of us went and walked a bunch of holes off together and watched James Conrad, like, it just rip discs across the course. And this Thanos zone, if nothing else, is going to keep me from ever forgetting that Thursday morning out there with the guys. So, Keegan, hell yeah. My next set of artist encounters came later that night when I went to a class at the Dye Academy, which I'm sure most of you have heard of by now. It's my main man, Jeff Beatty's brainchild that he started up at the DDO and then brought out to Ledgestone as well. It's like a whole day of disc dyeing classes that are taught in a classroom setting by instructors that are like some of the real pros out there whipping up white hot plastic. I went to the texturing class that was taught by Kateri and Chris. Both of them TDIDI Army All-Stars and Other Basement Disc Dyer contributors for that matter. The class was super intimate and really interactive. We all dyed discs together while they came around and showed us what we were doing right, or in my case, doing wrong. And like a bunch of the other instructors for the other classes were there helping out. And I got to meet a bunch of them and buy some discs off of them. Like, how about these two from Chris Tanis that I just mentioned of DaddyMac Dyes? I mean, come on. Check out the color saturation and patterns in these bad boys. Chris has been killing it for a while now. And DaddyMac Dyes, if you mingle in the disc dyeing circles at all, is a name that I'm sure you're already familiar with. Like, I made him drag me out to the trunk of his car after the class so that I could sift through his supply and pick out these two bad boys, which, like, he really is the one that first mastered this smoky style that you see on this disc and really stamped it with his signature. There's even like a couple whispers in the air right now of Chris making an appearance on our Other Basement Disc Dyers soon to show us some of his super smoky secrets on how he does these. From the trunk of Chris's car, I went back inside and I got a chance to peruse through the stock of Darren Misak, I'm sorry, bro, for butchering your name, of Dyran discs. Okay, I know I got that right. Darren was another one of the instructors at the Dye Academy. It was my first chance getting to meet him. Super cool cat. And, you know, he had bits and pieces of all the styles that we're used to seeing, but what really stood out, like his specialty, was the glue mask spin dyes, like some super sick spin work. I got these two off of him while I was there. I love this Malta that he did where the spin like matches the stamp really well. Super dope. And then I got this Hex off of him as well, which I love the spin dye, but this is like some of the smoothest, sexiest plastic I've ever felt. Like that and the spin dye, couldn't say no. Couldn't say no. Now, Darren is also another one of the names that has started circling through the whispers of Other Basement Disc Dyers, so like keep your head up for that one. This next artist is one that all of you Other Basement Disc Dyer fans are definitely familiar with, the lovely Miss Kateri from This Is How I Dye. Now, she was our last instructor over here on TDIDI, teaching us how to do texturing, and really the reason why I chose to sit in on this class over at the Dye Academy. Missed you, Tiffany. She had a couple boxes of her work there, and let me tell you, like every last one of them was an example of what happens when like a real artist jumps into this wormhole with us and decides to keep doing it. Like seriously, 2 whole boxes of hot damn. I eventually decided on these two. I got this Thor's Hammer Mjolnir for myself, which I'll be bagging real soon. I mean, come on. Like, even just the lightning, like her negative space is better than my dye. Better than my dyeing. And then I also got this shield on a Castoplast Sevilla for my main man X to the Z, because he's addicted to Castoplast and to ridiculously hot dyes. I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. Like, every single one of them was a dime piece. I could have bought all of them in both boxes, but in the end I decided I would leave like just a couple for you boys. For you boys and girls. But it wasn't just like the instructors that I got to meet and buy discs off of at the Dye Academy. Like, I sat right next door to my man TDIDI Army General Joe Adams, who, frankly, if that class was a competition, Joe would have won, at least my vote, because his disc came out awesome. That guy was a natural with the sponge. And then, like, after the class, I got to meet and hang out with my man Justice Keener, TDIDI Army All-Star. He'd been around for a bit. And then Mel and Eva from We Die, You Fly. They shared some incredible stories with me that went kind of like this. Like, we started doing it, and then did it some more, and then, holy crap, this thing's real. It was awesome. Now, unfortunately, they didn't have any discs right there on them for me to buy, but I was able to arrange the purchase of this incredibly realistic eyeball from the girls over at We Dye You Fly, which frankly has been staring like deep into the corners of my soul since I pulled it out. I pulled it out of the envelope. They've done like a bunch of different iterations of this eye pretty much perfectly, but what they're mostly known for is doing portrait work of like our pups and furry friends, and it's like really cute. You definitely want to check it out. The three of us hung out there and chatted basically until they kicked us out for the to make room for the next class, and then that kind of like wrapped up Thursday into a nice little bow for me. Like a hell of a day scoring some really hot plastic from front to back. Friday, frankly, was a whole bunch of the same damn thing. I woke up bright and early, all excited, and I saddled up the truck and headed out to watch the pros play. This time it was the ladies over at Sunset. Here's all I'll say about that. Damn, can those girls throw. I mean, damn. I wandered out from the parking lot and hooked up with the first group of girls, the girls that I mentioned to you earlier, and was following around their cart. It didn't take very long at all before I got a tap on the shoulder, followed by, "Are you old man Bob Cobb?" It was my man Mike and his buddy Josh from over at Lore Discs, which little did I know that like the hottest logo in disc golf, actively bumping Huck Labs aside, is straight out of the TDIDI army. The three of us, like, we walked that whole round off together that morning. It was awesome. And they shared like some really humbling stories with me about how like the stuff that they learned from our videos and the confidence they got from them, plus a whole lot of doing it, how all that like eventually matured into like this real deal brand and like real jobs for them. Like drastically life-changing stuff for the better. And not just for them, right? Like the better for all of us. Because now, we get Lore Discs. This is the one that I got later on that night when I went to the Fly Mart at their booth. Which, like, frankly had the longest line there. But I fought through it and got my hands on this thing, which feels like eventually is going to be a little piece of history. For now, it's going to serve as a token for just an awesome afternoon. And then transition us into the Fly Mart. That was like my favorite part of the whole week, where like it was all going down. I didn't have to wander too far from Lore's booth, right next door in fact, to find Daniel Solomon of Dirty Dan's Disc Golf. Dan, he doesn't dye discs himself, kind of like the stores that I went into back on Wednesday. He's doing the real dude thing and repping for a bunch of other artists that couldn't be there. I got 4 discs off my man Dan, one from each of the different artists he was displaying. Let's start with this wicked glue swirl on a Thrasher by Megan Burgett of Disc Ninja Dyes. She also gave it like a killer backspin on the other side. Now, Megan, she's like a little bit newer on her journey and in this game, and like funky monkey glue swirls, that's really where she shines. But I'm seeing new styles on her page every day that she's just like nailed. This is one to keep an eye on with how quick she's picking up all these different techniques and styles. Megan Burgett of Disc Ninja Dyes. The next disc I pulled out of Dirty Dan's box was this glue swirled Soul by Birdie or Die Disc Golf. My man's swirl hand is really strong. Really strong. I can never swirl it this much without getting all the colors to like mix together and muddy the whole thing out. These swirls are like thin and tight and all holding their own space. Like they know what they're doing over there. Another thing worth mentioning about Birdie or Die Disc Golf, they are also active participants in our hashtag Touched by TDIDI movement, hiding these glue swirled out works of art all over their local disc golf courses for one of you lucky huckers to find. Some real dudes. Then came this super tight, lazy, wavy Firebird done by Dyes by Red, which, if you're not already familiar with his work, he is like the lazy, wavy master. I mean, even this Firebird. Like, his color saturation on the Champion plastic is booming, and his waves are so tight and clean and lazy. Really, it's just another example of what happens when you keep doing it. You start cranking out fire one after the other, like my man over at Dyes by Red. The last disc that I took off of Dirty Dan was this crazy nebula dye done by Jory over at Jorys Fly Dyes. Now, I've like always been really into the spacey looking stuff. This is the type of nebula that would make Carl Sagan proud. I mean, my man is killing it. Now, Jory's is another brand that I'm sure, a brand name that I'm sure that most of you are already familiar with. He's really been on the rise recently and putting out some killer stencils. He did a Hulk disc just the other day that you should be going straight from this video to his IG page to check out. It is ridiculous. And his is also another name that you're going to be seeing real soon work his magic on our TDIDI airwaves in the Other Basement Disc Dyers series. So after cleaning my man Dirty Dan out, I circled around to the other side of the Fly Mart where all of the instructors from the Dye Academy were posted up. I still had a couple that I was yet to catch from the night before. The first of those was Michael O'Hearn from Lucky Dyes. Pores, that's his specialite. And let me tell you, this boy is getting some cell patterns that would make a petri dish blush. He is killing it. These are the two that I scored off of him. Really, this was one of those decisions that we all need more of in our life, where there's just no way that you could go wrong. Every one of the discs in his pile was cooler than the last one that you looked at. I had an awesome time hanging out and chatting with Michael for a while as I was looking through his work. We're like, he is of like mind, okay? He was telling me like how cool it would be to get to share his expertise with the rest of the community and spread some of his knowledge. I've already gotten in a bunch of footage from my man to share with all of you on our Other Basement Disc Dyers series. So you're going to be seeing how to do some of this stuff real soon as well. The last artist that I visited, and definitely in no ways the least, I mean, his brand is one that everybody who dabbles with the dyes knows of. Chase Marcus of Greazy Dyes. Like, it might not be easy being greasy, like it says on his stickers, but he sure as hell makes it look that way. My man had hundreds of discs there, all of them like at the same top shelf level quality as these three bad boys that like I basically stole off of him for what he charged me for them. I mean, check out this A3 that he did here. That looks like one of those big stones you see at the museum, cracked open with a bunch of crystals. It's incredible. Or like, how about this cell dye he did on a D3 that looks like it actively has electricity moving through it, like right now. It's just incredible. Or, and then like there's this smoke dye that he did. Like, it's no question why Greazy Dyes is what they are. It's because my man is cranking out bangers into the world of every style that you've seen. And frankly, Chase is one of those guys that you talk to for 5 minutes, and when you're done, you walk away thinking, I really hope that guy wins. That is one of the guys who deserves everything he gets. My man is doing it out there. And with those 3 discs that look like they had magic wiped all over them, we've done it. We have finished up the whole decade worth of birthdays pile. And made our way through it. Now, this doesn't seem like the kind of story that would come with a moral, but I did have a closing thought or two from this whole experience that I felt like was worth sharing with you boys and girls before I let you go. You know, all of these artists that I went over today in the Disc Dyers of Ledgestone video, like, they are just a small handful of the real doers that are out there deserving of the spotlight. Like, making good art isn't easy. It's not easy. It's mostly just failures that all eventually culminate into a few successes along the way. Like, and you know what's even harder? Like putting a price tag on your work and then putting it out there in the ether for someone to tell you it's overpriced and not worth it. Like after you put countless hours and a little piece of your soul into it. And unfortunately, the effect that it's had on most disc dyers is severely undercharging for their work and their time. Like almost every single one of the discs in this pile, I felt like I should have been paying 2 and 3 times as much for. Like, and in some cases, I just did. I just did. I'm here to tell all of you in the TDIDI army that are putting like these levels of effort and artistry and love into your work. Like, it's time. It is time to do yourself and the rest of the community, for that matter, a favor. Stop underselling yourself. Man. Like, and start charging what your time and art is worth. It's time. If you're looking for a simple formula based on what I saw out at Ledgestone, like try doubling everything and going from there. Like some of you could be adding a 0 to the end of your prices. Come on. Oh, like come on. Like I understand, okay, about all the time and effort and love that you're putting into these pieces. And listen, just because it's on a Frisbee doesn't make it any less valuable than if it were on a piece of canvas. Just way cooler and with a much better hyzer. That's it. That's it. Help rise the tide back to where it belongs and stop underselling yourself. Your stuff is worth loads more. All of you. Okay, the other thought that I was left with leaving Ledgestone was, like, these people need more of our support. And that, you know, obviously that's what led me to wanting to do this video and everything, but really, like, a little bit of time on the TDIDI airwaves, that only gets you so far. Not unlike any of the impact TDIDI has ever had, it's only ever made a dent when it's the whole TDIDI army acting together. And let's be honest with each other. Like, it's dollar bills that move the needle. I'm not saying, you know, run straight to the interweb and buy yourself 21 discs from all these fools. But here's what I am saying, outright and straight to you. Click one of the links in the description below and go buy yourself your new favorite piece of plastic from one of these artists that I showed off to you today. This is the stuff that we need to be supporting and encouraging and growing in our little corner of the community. These are the doers that are making it happen, and we need to get behind them. So, like, if you were planning on buying a TDIDI custom, hold off, okay? Not this time. Go get one of the discs from these guys, all right? And let's grow this community and show these people, like, what their stuff is really worth. And look, I promise that when you get that thing in the mail and you tear through the envelope and you look at it for the first time, you're going to be thinking to yourself, you know what? That old Man Cobbers was right. This thing is awesome and probably worth twice what I paid for. And let's show these boys and girls that are out there doing it right the kind of support that they deserve. And by getting yourself like your next absolutely favorite piece of plastic, you're going to be the difference. You're going to be like what is helping grow our little corner of this thing the right way. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. And that's the whole thing. That was a beast of a video, huh? Like, that's what you get. That's what you get for going out to Ledgestone and coming home with 21 hot pieces of plastic that you have to show off to the TDIDI arm. I hope you boys and girls enjoyed it and that you are just like seconds away from clicking one of those links below my talking head to go get yourself your next absolutely favorite piece of plastic. All right, until we see you again, better keep doing it.
Hey, little girl! Get on!
Oh.
Heartbreaker!
Oh no.